Even though Pareto optimality criterion is a landmark in the field of welfare economics, Calder and Hicks presented introduced new trends to the field of welfare economics. It is popularly called as the Calder-Hicks compensation principle. Let's look into the details of the criterion. This is also known as new welfare economics, as they presented new trends to the field of welfare economics. This is part of the new welfare economics. Pareto criterion may not always possible according to Calder and Hicks. Calder and Hicks believe that Pareto's efficiency is a distant reality, as most economic changes lead to benefiting somebody and worsening some others in the society. So Pareto optimality, as we all know, Pareto efficiency states that an economic change that could benefit at least one individual without worsening any other individual in the society leads to increase in welfare. But this is a distant reality, and this is not practically, mostly not possible according to Calder and Hicks, and they introduced their own welfare criterion. It is known as compensation principle. Let's look into the compensation principle. According to Calder and Hicks, most of the economic and social changes could involve gains of some people and loss for some other people. This is the common reality, as we all know. When a development is coming in our region, when a new highway or is when a bypass is being created in our town, then it will lead to benefiting many individuals in our region, and it will also cause some others worse off, as they lost their land, for they have to give up their land for the development. So any economic change in our society, as we see, could benefit somebody and worsen some others. But still, welfare can be increased when compensation is made by the gainers to the losers. The gainers have to compensate the losers monetarily. Then, and even after that compensation, there should be positive net benefit to the gainers. Then only the particular economic change is argued to be increasing social welfare according to Calder and Hicks. At the same time, when the net gain is negative, that means after paying monetarily the compensation to the losers, the net gain is negative. That means there is surely no increase in welfare. Similarly, when the net gain is zero after paying the compensation monetarily, welfare remains unaffected. There is no decline in welfare, there is no increase in welfare. So even after compensation, there should be positive net gain for the gainers. Then only the welfare will increase after a particular economic change or a particular policy change. This is the compensation principle basically. And there is difference in opinion on how to pay the compensation after the economic change among Calder and Hicks. There is a difference in opinion among Calder and Hicks regarding the payment of compensation, but they are of the same opinion that when an economic change leads to benefiting somebody and worsening some others, the losses could be compensated by the gainers, or there could be a possibility for the compensation. Then only the welfare will increase. While Calder believes that this is a political decision or an ethical decision, government should compensate the losses, or ethically the gainers can gainers may compensate the losses. Then this is in fact a potentiality for the losses being compensated. At the same time, Hicks believes that this is not an ethical or political decision. The gainers should compensate the losses, as the losers cannot bribe the gainers. That means the losers cannot stop the gainers from taking advantage of the economic activity. Suppose a factory that is being dumping its waste into the nearby river, The nearby river water is getting polluted, and there are so many people who depend on river water for their livelihood, but that river water is being polluted by the dumping of waste from the nearby factory. But here the reality, the fact is that the people who depend river water cannot stop the factory from their pollution. That means the factory is benefiting and the people are worsening. So this case also can be considered as an increase in welfare only when the gainer can compensate the losers, and even after compensation there should be an increase in net, there should be positive net benefit is the case. So here the Calder-Hicks compensation criterion can be explained using utility possibility curve. U1 here is the utility possibility curve. A's utility is measured along horizontal scale and B's utility is measured along vertical scale. There are this is a simple economy of two individuals A and B, and here we consider the utility, change in utility of both individuals A and B after an economic or a policy change. Here the initial position here is C. That means at point C both individuals A and B are in equilibrium. This is in fact an underutilized point of utility maximization. The people are not maximizing the utility on point C, but both have the equal level of utility is the case, and an economic change happened in this situation. There could be different possibilities marked on the U1 possibility curve. There could be G, there could be D, F, E or H. These are the 5 different possibilities for the equilibrium of A and B due to an economic change. Here you have to remind that when we move from U to U1 on the utility possibility curve, when we move downward from U to U1, you can see there is an increase in utility of A and there is a decrease in utility of B. Similarly, when we move upward from U1 to U, you can see an increase in utility of B and decline in utility of A. So here the losses should be compensated to get the to increase the welfare. Let's look the different points. According to Pareto's optimality, the economic change from the point C that could lead to D, F or E. Welfare will be increased according to Pareto criterion only when only when the two individuals reach point D or point F or point E. Then only the Pareto's criterion is satisfied only at point D, F or E. So here we have two other points, G and H. Look at the case at G. So at point G, A's utility is minimized and B's utility is maximized. B has increased its utility and A's utility is declined significantly at point G. Here still there is a possibility for increase in welfare according to Calder and Hicks. So what is required here for increasing utility, increase in welfare? The only answer is compensation. The gainers should compensate the losers, or the losers should get the compensation of this decline in welfare. So their decline should be equally compensated monetarily. So even after compensation, there should be positive net benefit for B, or the gainer should have the net positive benefit even after paying the loser's compensation, loser. This is the case at point G, and here we have another point that is point H. So at point H, A is increasing its utility, A has maximized its utility, and B is declining its utility. So B's utility is minimum and A's utility is maximum in this diagram. But according to Pareto optimality, this is not an increase in welfare, as one individual is worse off and one individual is better off. This is not welfare according to Wilfred or Pareto, but that is not the case for Calder-Hicks compensation criterion. Here A is better off, B is worse off. Here what A need to do is the B should be compensated monetarily, and even after that compensation, even after paying the compensation, A should be able to increase the welfare. That means net benefit of the gainer. Net benefit of the gainer here is A. So net benefit of A should be positive even after paying the compensation. Then only the welfare can be increased. Having said that, the Calder-Hicks compensation criteria is not free from the weaknesses. Let's look briefly into the weaknesses of the Calder-Hicks compensation criterion. The Calder-Hicks compensation criterion is based on the unrealistic assumption of same marginal utility for all individuals. This is not in fact true, as marginal utility could differ from one individual to another individual. More specifically, the marginal utility of the richer section of the society will not be equal to that of the poor section of the society. Normally, marginal utility of the poor section of the society will be greater than that of the richer section of the society, but that difference was not taken into account by Calder and Hicks while developing their criterion of welfare. Another weakness of the criterion here is that there is no surety for the losers being compensated, and who will compensate the loser? That is the question here. But they suggested the possibility for the compensation. Calder-Hicks believed that there could be a potentiality of the losers being compensated, but reality, they may not be compensated, but still welfare is considered to be increased. Another issue is that compensation may not always sufficient, as the real loss of the losers may not be able to compensate by the gainer. The compensation is just in terms of payment in monetary terms, but that compensation may not be able to compensate the real loss made to the losers. For example, when a bypass is coming to in our region, then what happen? There are so many people who will benefit from the bypass, especially those who use the vehicles. They will benefit really, and the traffic jam will be minimized. It will be declined. But the loss of the people who lost the land as they give up it for the developmental activity, their loss is in fact not measurable, in fact monetarily. They may get the benefit in monetary terms, but they lose their premises, which is familiar place. This is the Calder-Hicks compensation principle. According to Calder and Hicks, an economic change that could lead to benefiting somebody and worsening some others, even that economic change could lead to increase in welfare after the losses are being compensated by the gainers, and even after compensation there should be a positive net benefit to the gainer. This is the increase in welfare according to Calder and Hicks.